The video is confronting to watch.
I have to say that I was very
It's a health emergency that has already killed 41
The giant virus has killed at least 41 people.
Hi Ariel, hi Anthony.
G'day Matt, hi Ariel. Good to see you guys.
So thank you for joining us for this discussion talking about if not for the ACA, then who? So to kick off with, let's talk about the ACA keeping its finger on the pulse. Tell us a little bit about our networks and how we're constantly keeping up to date with what's happening across the profession.
I think one of the successful things that we have is our extensive network of business partners. Being part of the Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, where we can get ready access to decision makers like politicians, is important.
For us to be effective in our advocacy, we really need to be able to be aligned with other groups. And this is where the ACA's involvement with the Professions Reference Group and also the Allied Health Professions Australia really is a great relationship. And then of course on the world stage, the ACA is the member for Australasia of the World Federation of Chiropractic. And this is really important. We're the third largest member organisation across the world, and we make a great input to chiropractic not only in Australia but right across the globe.
Well, it's certainly great that we're well connected across the profession, but when issues do arise, can you tell us a little bit about how we are prepared to respond, a little bit about some of our resources and manuals that help guide us through such processes?
So one of the things we've invested in over time is an issues management and response plan, where we work through Ogilvy PR, OPR, to look at issues that might front the profession in the media or different matters.
So one of the really important functions of the ACA is risk management. This is important not only in terms of the association itself, but also the broader aspect for the chiropractic profession. Unfortunately, we've had some situations recently where this has been had to put into place. In 2019 with Safer Care Victoria, and of course this year with COVID-19. Having a platform to work from has made it far more effective when dealing with these very difficult situations.
Yes, that Sun Herald article, well, that was devastating. There were lots of emotions that went through my head at that stage.
First up, shocked that it was even happening, and really wanting to get something done, but realised it was going to have to be a fairly complete professional approach to managing it.
As a child-only chiropractor, my practice and many of my colleagues' practices took a really big hit on the back of the experience prior to this one.
There was definitely some people that asked about it, but interestingly, it was more that families recognised the huge difference between what was in the media and what is done in practice.
Let's go back to February 2019, and can you walk us through the journey of how we first responded to the Herald Sun article that broke?
So Matt, you'll know of course way back in February 2019 when you called me at home at 5 o'clock at night saying that you've heard that there's about to be a release about a chiropractor and an infant in the Herald Sun the very next day. We didn't know exactly what it was, but we knew the news was not going to be positive.
And Anthony was on the front foot in the media on that day to look at how do we best defend the profession and put all of this into context. It was a significant amount of work that we needed to do. It extended our networks. There was a lot of time spent in anchoring relationships with the decision makers, but importantly it was also about having good, transparent and appropriate evidence to take forward.
When I first heard about COVID, I initially brushed it off thinking, oh yeah, that'll be in the news for a week or two and then it'll go away. And then I didn't stop hearing about it. And we thought while it's at its worst, we might remove ourselves from practice for a couple of weeks until the curve flattens a little bit.
Initially, those first couple of weeks were pretty slow in practice, had like a lot of cancellations and a lot of people rescheduling just out of fear of not knowing what was going on. And
Yeah, one of the big things I noticed at the beginning was I had a lot of practice members that were in a real fight-flight state, so they were dealing with a lot of fear, and so in our checks that's what we were finding, people that were in that state of just really needing to be calmed down.
I was hearing really real fear from my patients, like, you know, are you going to have to shut? Are you going to have to shut? Because they were panicking that they wouldn't have access to their regular chiropractic care.
Well, 2020 has certainly been marked by the COVID-19 pandemic, both here in Australia and around the world. As this first began to affect the livelihoods of our members, can you walk us through the journey of how we responded?
The COVID-19 was a really, looking back, I guess, a fascinating experience. In some ways, it was similar to Safer Care Victoria in that really, as the ACA, we needed to get information out to our members really quickly. There was so many changes happening so quickly. Day by day, the news was different, and what we needed to be was a reliable source of information.
What we saw was the anxiety, the decrease in business activity of looking at where the government was making different announcements, and so we were trying to synthesise all of this into information that you could rapidly and readily digest. We set up our COVID-19 portal and we structured it in a way that looked at all of the aspects, whether it was about your business or infection control and hygiene.
So from both a practice perspective and even from a business perspective, encouraging and letting members know where they can go to, what links they need to use to find out about how to access JobKeeper, what kind of changes do they need to make in their practice as far as hygiene, social distancing, screening patients. I think keeping that information reliable and consistent out there really helped a lot of members through what has been a pretty difficult 2020.